Hi everybody, we're at Dixie High School. A brand new main entrance is happening even as we speak. We had to work really hard to find a place to sit down with Coach Gary Stone of the Dixie Softball team, but we did it. Sit back and enjoy. Coach Stone.
Yes, sir.
Dixie Softball, and before we start talking about the phenomenal year that you had this year, I want to back up several years.
Okay.
My history of watching Dixie Softball started with Coach Steve Dunlap.
Right.
And you worked for him for a long time. Talk about that relationship and first the program that he built that you've continued on and even taken up a notch.
Right. Well, the first year that I was here with Coach Dunlap, 2004 softball season, we had a phenomenal year, won the region championship, won a district championship that year, and went on and played at Indianland, made it to the upstate championship game, had to go to Indianland and beat them twice. Indianland at that time was 9-time state champion, I think 9 out of the last 10 years. So we fell short of that goal that year, but it was a good season. I learned a lot as far as, how to handle a team during the playoffs under Coach Dunlap's leadership. And we had a really good working relationship. I worked with the JV team during that period of time from 2004 all the way through to 2010 and assisted Coach Dunlap on the varsity. So we worked really well together. We won a district championship in 04, won another one in 06, and had to go back to Indianland again, and again fell short of an upper state championship. But got that experience under Coach Dunlap. And from 04 to 2010, we were region champs. 6 years in a row, we won the region. And so it was a successful program before I took it over in 2010, this being my third season. And I think we probably really have to even go back before that. Softball under Coach Todd Brown. Had a lot of success at Dixie. Had some good teams, had some district championships, and also played for some upper state championships. So the seed had already been planted for success for softball at Dixie High School. And so when I took the program in 2010, we did not win region championship that year, didn't win district or any of that, made playoffs. But those first 2 years we finished third in the region. Had a tougher region at that time with Abbeville in 96 in with us. With realignment this past year, a lot of teams that were in 1A moved up a classification, including Abbeville in 96. So this year, region champs, district champ, upper state champ. It was a lot of fun. It really was.
Well, and some of the teams that you talked about, I remember the Carrie Lown years, the Melinda Canfield years.
That's right.
You had a team built around Cat Molzer.
That's exactly
3 or 4 years ago. But now let's fast forward to now.
Okay.
You had an unbelievable year.
Absolutely.
And it was really a journey. And you really didn't finish with the same team that you started with. And we can talk about that. But going into the year, you had high hopes, right?
I did. We had a lot of returning experience. We had some young girls that were coming up from JV who really showed in the past couple of years, have showed a lot of potential. Very talented young ladies when it comes to playing softball and other things as well. We did not have our pitcher this year, starting pitcher Ashley Brown, had been out, was unable to play last year due to the season before that having to have a hip surgery. So we had her coming back. We had a young pitcher that just moved into Dixie High School, was in the 8th grade. So all the pieces were there. We just had to figure out how we were going to put them on the field to be the most successful. And by the end of the year, we had that figured out, I believe.
Well, you did. And let me stop you for a sec. The player that moved in, the 8th grader.
Right.
1, did you know she was coming? And 2, did you know she was as good as she is?
Yeah, I knew she was coming. Before the school year was out, the previous year, her mom had brought her over here and wanted to meet the softball coach. She had played softball where she came from, and I showed her around the school and talked with her, and she said, well, my daughter's a pitcher, and I was, and of course, I lit up automatically, and I was like, well, that's great. I said, well, we've had a lot of success here at Dixie High School with softball, and we look forward to working with Delaney. And I told her we get in a summer league every year up at Shetter, up above Belton. And it's sort of a developmental type thing. We usually take our younger girls and play in that league. And I invited Delaney to come and play with us. She was still playing in some travel tournaments and things like that up in, I think she was up in playing in tournaments over in Ohio and Indiana and places like that. That's where Indiana, where she was from. And just so happened one of the last games that we were playing in that league, she was here in Due West, and I called her and said, yeah, we'd like to play. So she comes up with us, and we put her in the circle, and we watch her warm up, and I'm like, yeah. So I knew they were coming, and yes, I knew she had the potential to be an asset to our program. So it's always nice when you have some talented athletes like that just show up.
Well, so. and not too many teams really at any level have two really good pitchers.
Right, yeah. You made mention to a few of them a while ago, back in the years 2004 when we played for that upper state championship with Coach Dunlap. We had Melinda Canfield and Megan Burdette, and we had a rotation of pitchers there. We used Delaney mainly. She played a JV season. We brought her up and played her when we could. They're allotted so many games to play, 20-game limit under high school league rules. So we brought her up and played some varsity games, got her some experience with the intent of bringing her with us in the playoffs. We did that because we could. Pitching in softball, in my opinion, it's an art form, and it takes a lot of time and practice for girls to master that. Not all of the girls are willing to put the time and the effort into that actual position. So when you have two that are actually willing to do that, I mean, it makes it a lot easier on you as a coach to do that. Softball, I think, is a little different from baseball in that you have less reaction time. So when you have two different pitchers that have different styles, it takes a bit of time for hitters to adjust to that a lot of times. So it's a good thing. It is a good thing to have two pitchers in softball.
It is. Well, let's talk about the season.
Okay.
Got off to a good start, and we're going to kind of just scream through the regular part of the season. When you got into the playoffs, you were averaging, I think, over 11 runs a game, and then you're in the upper state finals, Fox Creek, and your bats were silent for about the first 5 innings in a huge game. So
Absolutely.
What's going through your head right there?
That was a crazy day. We had a schedule conflict with a prom that day, and the infamous prom game. So we played that game early, 3 o'clock, against Fox Creek, and they had to come here and beat us twice. So we had that going for us. We didn't want to lose that first game and give them that momentum. I knew if we got into that second game, they were going to have momentum because they would have just beaten us. My girls were going to be thinking about other things. So I knew we needed to get it done in that first game. And it was absolutely nothing for, like you say, for the first 5 innings. And then in the bottom of the 6th, we score 5 runs. Fox Creek comes up. We get 3 outs and the game's over. It was a very stressful 5 innings, I can tell you that. It was a well-played game by both sides, good pitching on both sides, good defense from both sides. Both sides hit the ball, girls just made plays. And so we were fortunate to get our bats going in the 6th inning. Like you say, we were averaging over 11 runs a game. I figured it up last night, just under 12, giving up just under 4. So I knew that was one thing that I always felt good about, and my girls always felt good about. We weren't down a lot in the regular season, very few times, and a time or two in the playoffs we found ourselves down, but I didn't really panic, and more so the girls didn't. because they knew the offensive capability that we had. So our general idea was that if we could keep them under 3, 4, maybe even 5 runs, that we could score 5, 6 runs a game. So that was a huge win, and it was emotional for the girls. It was emotional for me. I had told them all through the playoffs, I said, there's been a lot of good softball played at Dixie High School. And when you won region championship, other players had heard that. When you won a district championship, other players from the past had heard that. And I told them, I said, I want to tell you something that no other softball player at Dixie High School has ever heard, and that is that you're an upper state champion. And so when I told them that, it was important to me, and it was really important to them. And you could tell that they were really fired up and excited.
And it was prom Friday, so
that's right.
And then the next important question: did they change into their prom gowns on the bus on the way back, or did they actually get to come back and get cleaned up?
Well, the good thing about it was it was a home game for us, and so therefore we could sort of set what time we wanted to play, and we played it early for a reason. And it was neat because some of the guys showed up in their tuxedos and things of that nature. So it was exciting. I think they actually, because nobody scored until 1 inning, it was a quick game. So, by 4:30 we had celebrated, and they were on their way to get a shower and get dressed, and they probably could still make their reservations wherever they were.
That's right. Okay, now let's move on to the state championship series against East Clarendon.
Right.
First game on the road. And it wasn't a typical road trip. One, it's for a state championship, best 2 out of 3,
right.
And it was a little longer than you were used to. So
right.
Talk about the process of getting there and playing that first game.
Right. East Clarendon is a softball team located down in Clarendon County. It's in a little town called Turbyville. When I got to talking to the coach at East Clarendon there, they have a lot of similarities to us. It's sort of a rural area, and so we had a lot in common. I thought, small school. They had some softball tradition, or have some softball tradition. They had played for a state championship before, I think about 9 years ago. So none of those girls had that experience of playing that. They just had the school had been there before. It's a long ride to Turbyville, and these brackets are predetermined. After you win district championship, home field advantage is already predetermined in the bracket in the upper state, and then also for the state championship. So this year the brackets were sort of stacked against us, and matter of fact, we had to go on the road to win the upper state championship. Went to St. Joe's and Louisville on the road to get the home field against Fox Creek. But anyway, we traveled. It's about 25 miles off 378 headed east past Sumter. So we're looking at about a 3.5 hour ride. Got off the bus, and I felt pretty good about how the team is, and I always sort of try and gauge, as a coach will do before the game, how they feel about the team. And with young ladies, it's a fine line between being, loose and uptight, and how are you gonna react when the game starts. So we were kind of loose, and I felt good about that. But game started, and I had a pretty good scouting report on East Clarendon. Knew they had a good pitcher. They didn't give up a lot of runs. That concerned me. I felt like we could hit the pitcher. She had a very good rise ball, kept us off balance the entire game. We got 3 hits. We're used to getting 15 hits a game. We get 3 hits. So dead legs from a ride. I think the upper state championship, having won that, and almost like, well, we accomplished our goal sort of thing. And I felt myself doing the same thing, being satisfied with this. And I think a lot of that, all that combination together of things, having won the upper state, very emotional previous week, long travel to East Clarendon, a very good, solid team that we play with solid team with great pitching. It was a letdown, and we lost that game 2-0.
But what about the atmosphere?
Oh gosh,
they had a huge crowd.
Huge crowd, and it was a lot of people there. We actually, our principal, Ms. Bruton, had put together a charter bus for us. Her and Coach Brown, the athletic director, got together, and so we brought a lot of people with us. And of course, a small town, Turbyville, everybody's there. So it was a large crowd. We had seen that when we went to Louisville. That comes to mind. Louisville was a huge crowd, sort of one of those hostile environment types of places. So I was not necessarily as much concerned about that. We had seen that before. We had a huge crowd for the Upper State Championship game here, even though it was a 3 o'clock game. But yeah, there was a big crowd there. I think our girls, we had seen that, but it was different. This is for the championship. So yeah, it's a big stage, no doubt.
Now, when you lose game one, then you come back to Due West. You play game two right behind us at Dixie's Field, and I wanted to be at the game. I have a real job, and so I couldn't make first couple innings. So I come in to town normally right by your field, and as I drive into town, there are cars parked from center field past the right field line up against the fence. I'd never seen that before. People on top of trucks, in the truck beds, and I'm going, this is awesome. And then I get to the game, and huge crowd, and that was so cool, and your kids came through.
Absolutely. We talked about it before the game, and we brought down a sound system and had tables and everything ready for the presentation of awards. That was one of the deals. If East Clarendon wins that game, then they are going to receive the 1A state championship softball trophy down there on our field. So it was sort of a very defensive talk that I had with the girls. I said, look, you got to play. I said, we need to push this to game 3 and go to a neutral site so we can play for this championship. You got to give it everything you got. You don't win this game today. If you lose this game, we're upper state champs, but you're going to get the little trophy. You're not going to get that big trophy. And that big trophy was here. It was at Dixie High School that day. And but we came through. I'm looking here at the book, in bottom of the first inning, we scored 4 runs. And we came out on fire. Now, East Clarendon had the same thing we had 2 days before that. They had a long ride. The coach there, I read in the paper, said, we just had dead legs from that long ride. They had come off in an emotional win on the first game of that series. So the tide was turned. We end up scoring 8 runs in that game. We're able to bring in our younger pitcher, Delaney, and relieves Ashley, gives her some much needed rest. I felt good about doing that. We had used her for that. She had come in first game of the Upper State Championship against St. Joe's. We're down, I think 5-4, and she comes in and shuts down St. Joe's in the second inning, and we end up winning that game 12-6. Got her some time against Louisville, and then again against East Clarendon in that second game. So it was a perfect game. We couldn't have played it any better. We score 8 runs. We give up 1 run late in the game. So we got some confidence and feel like we have turned the tide, and now we have the momentum going into that third game at a neutral site. So.
And then you head down to Lexington, I think.
Right, White Knoll High School.
White Knoll High School for the championship game.
Right.
So it's a new game with a shorter fuse, and really that's what it's all about.
Right.
And how did your kids, I know the final result, you lost in the championship game, but how did your players respond to game 3, new venue, all the bright lights? Pretty cool experience.
Yeah, you want to talk about a crowd. That was there were a lot of people there. White Knoll is a large school in Lexington. both East Clarendon as well as us, when we show up and see a place like that, we're just like, wow, you know, I didn't know places like this exist a lot of times. Immaculate facilities and everything. So it is a big stage, and they know what to expect from us. We know what to expect from them. We come out, we feel pretty confident. We win the coin toss, and we're the home team in that game. And you know, it just didn't work out for us the way we wanted to. We made some uncharacteristic errors in that game. I don't know if it was the pressure of the situation. We had a young team, and we have a young team. So I don't know if that was part of it. But you know, we're down in that game, I think 4-0 at one point, and end up Samantha Ferguson in the I want to say third inning. Fourth inning. We're down 5-1. She hits a 3-run homer in the fourth inning, and you know, we're in a 5-4 ball game in the fourth inning. And I talked to my assistant Ben Snipes, and when she hits that, I went up to him. I said, I feel good about this. And we go into the sixth inning and top of the seventh with that same score, with a chance to win the game. And in top of that seventh inning, we make a couple of errors. They score a couple runs, 2 or 3 runs, and you know, we got the last at bat, but you know, we're able to you know, get 1 run, but not what we needed, and we ended up losing that game 8-5. It was a heartbreaking loss. It really was, and the girls, young ladies, were devastated, really, and there were no smiles when we received that trophy, nor when they had their medals put around their neck. But you know, looking back at it, it's the best season we've ever had. So they didn't have anything to be ashamed of, and I told them that. I didn't get to talk to them a lot that night, but I talked to them at the athletic banquet. They gave me a little extra time and treated us. Coach Brown treated us really well, had us a table off to the side, you know, and gave us a little extra time to celebrate a great season. And I let them know that they didn't have anything to hang their heads about. They were young, and they would be back next year, and now they know what it feels like, and I'm excited.
Several years ago, when my son Reggie was on the basketball team here,
absolutely,
we lost at Clemson in Littlejohn.
I was there
for the upper state finals, but the fact that kids from Dixie got to go up to play in a facility like that, and they wish they would have had the chance to do that again.
Right.
So let's put that now back in your shoes. You've got a really good team coming back.
Yeah.
So what's the challenge for you? You put last season to bed, and now what have your players done this summer to get ready for next year? What have you done?
The girls here, most of my softball players, you're not going to find many of them out there. You might find 3 or 4, maybe not even that many, that only play softball. Most of these girls are playing. They play volleyball. They're getting ready to start volleyball.
Hey, this is Dixie High School.
This is Dixie High School. They play volleyball. They put that up. They play basketball. They put that up, and they come to me. Because of that, they have to. The ones who are and the majority of these girls are very serious about what they do, and they know the responsibility of an athlete, of a student athlete, and they know they have to keep their grades up, and they know they have to be in good physical shape. So most of my girls take part in our weight training program here during the summer. They're up there with the guys in the weight room and getting stronger and working on their agilities and things like that. So they do that. Coach Snipes and myself also always try and put together, as I mentioned earlier, a team to play in a summer league. High school league allows you to, pretty much open season from June 1 to August 1. And so we play in a league. I generally try and target my 10th grade and down girls to sort of a developmental type thing. So we've been playing ball. We played for 5 weeks, 1 night a week, a doubleheader every night. We do that. Some of these girls, not all of them, but I got a couple that play year-round. And I'm just thinking, what is it that I do is I try and give them the opportunity to play in leagues in the summer. We also have a fall league that we play in. And I just try and give them the opportunity to work on their skills. And then I also, I'm thinking about it every day, strategizing who's going to be where. And I mean, I've put together so many lineups in my head already since that last East Clarendon game at White Knoll that it's just all run together. But we're always thinking about it, and we're always working to get better. And I think that's what you have to do. Talk about these girls. I mentioned it, volleyball, basketball. We are truly blessed all the way from what I can see, 7th grade up, with very a large number of female athletes here. And, if you got the athletes and you can teach them the skills, it makes coaching fun.
Well,
it really does.
And you've got, the I know you've been involved in youth rec sports
Right.
too, and,
Yep.
and the new complex. We talked to Jimmy Ashley this time last summer.
Yeah.
The complex is allowing kids at an early age to play, but talk about summer ball and travel ball. It's a different breed now. It's a different game than when we grew up, because
Right.
you didn't play all summer long, or and if you want to specialize in one sport now, you can.
That's right.
That's harder to do at Dixie when they almost need you to play every sport, and pretty competitive between the coaches too. You want kids to be in the team that you coach, but you don't want that to affect the other sports at Dixie or whatever school, because you're all in it together.
Yeah, the summer ball and the travel ball, I got a couple of girls that do that year round, but and probably most all of them have at some point done that. That's not for everybody, and most of my girls really enjoy diversifying what it is that they play. And it's sort of like you say, this is a small school. You have a small population to choose from, unlike other schools that have 1,000 students. We got 350, 400. So it is a fine line, I think, sometimes as to how much pressure you put on them to work on softball during, especially like I just mentioned. We got a fall league in October that we're going to play on. That could interfere somewhere with volleyball or possibly even basketball or both. So you kind of have to have an understanding with the other coaches, and you have to give a little, and with certain things.
And that's not easy to do.
It's not.
As a coach.
It's not.
It's not. Yeah.
Especially when you look at the potential that they have, and you say, man, if I had these girls working with me all the time, what could we do? But I kind of see the other side of it. I see, most of these girls playing together. I look out there on the basketball court, and there's my softball team. I look out there on the volleyball court, there's my softball team. And I know Coach Ellis, the volleyball coach, followed us very intensely, because she looks out there on the softball team, and that's our volleyball team. Mm-hmm. So, I'm sure she's chomping at the bit right now, too, for volleyball season to start, because she's got these athletes. They've got the experience of what it takes to get to a championship. And so I look at it as a positive. And like you say, it's not easy to do as a coach. You kind of want to look after yourself and look after your own program. But I tend to try and look at it as a whole, as all the female programs here at Dixie. And I look at it as those girls working together on the volleyball court and those girls working together on the basketball court. They're working on their team concept, and that's not going to do anything but help them when they come to me.
Now, I want to mention this: the support that you had from people at the high school and in this community. I love the movie Hoosiers, and when the bus would leave campus and the whole town would follow them, I saw that a little bit here. When you left for East Clarendon, and you did have the charter bus, but there are also a bunch of cars that followed the bus. How cool is that?
Oh, it's awesome, because you're talking about I can't remember exactly what time we left, but you know, you're talking about a 12:30, 1 o'clock departure, maybe even earlier than that. And you know, people have to make arrangements. Like you say, people have real jobs, and they have to get off of work and do things like that to give us that support. So we really do appreciate that. You know, parents are quite an asset to high school sports, especially at a school like this. You know, they're there following us and cheering us on, but they're also the ones running the fundraisers for us. They're also the ones who are part of the booster club, working in the concession stands to help us raise our money to run the sports here, the athletic teams, because you know we don't have a lot of money when it comes to things like that for athletics. So it takes the support of not only parents but other people in the community that don't have kids, like yourself, you know, that come here and work concession stands and help us in order to be successful. So it really is, and, you know, I'm from here. I'm a graduate of Dixie High School. I grew up here. My family has always been here. My wife is from here. And, you know, and we love this place. And to see that sort of community involvement, I mean, it makes you feel good about where you are, where your kids are going to be in the future. You know, I got a 3-year-old daughter, and I look at the support from this community, and you know, you feel good about it.
Now, what did it feel like as coach of the Dixie softball team? You mentioned the crowd that you had for the upper state against
Right.
Fox Creek, and I was out of town at that time, so I didn't see that. But
Yeah.
I did see what you had in Game 2 for East Clarendon, and I know as an old coach, and I am old, you know, you go and you see that everybody's there to support you, and you're a competitor,
Right.
and every fiber of your body is on fire.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to do what you can, but what did it feel like to you to visibly see the support that you had for Dixie softball? People coming from all over the place.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, it wasn't just the community here. It was the entire county. It was people from, you know, Honeypath community and places like that. The city of Abbeville, all of the support from around this area. You know, we were the only team at that time that was still playing in the Lakelands area. So you know, we were the only show in town at that time. So it was awesome, and it really it fills you with pride to see that people are recognizing what these young ladies are doing at that to get to that point. I mean, that's in that's in May, but these girls had been out there and had been working hard since, you know, last weekend in January. You know, February all the way into May is a long season, and the further you go into the playoffs, the longer the season gets. And these girls are going through a lot during that period of time. And we mentioned prom, end of year rolling around, and these girls are worried about their academics. End of course testing and all those types of things are coming into play when you're playing that late in the year. So to see the surrounding community give these young ladies the support that they deserve and the recognition that they deserve, you know, it makes it worth it. All the hard work that Coach Snipes and myself put in with these young ladies, it makes it every minute that you spend out there, it makes it worth it.
Well, what are you going to do next year? And this with my coaching hat on.
Yeah.
You had a really good JV team,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a very good varsity team, and you got a lot of players back.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be extremely competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So how deep are you? And what are you going to do to challenge these kids? I know that they can't just show up thinking that they're going to get a chance to,
Right.
you know, play for a state championship. How are you going to get the edge back?
That's the question. You know, you talk about my JV team and the program here. Coach Snipes and myself recognized the potential of these young girls coming up when they were in the girls that are freshmen and sophomore and juniors right now, or rising to the next class there. We recognized the potential that these girls had a few years back. And we designed that past couple of seasons, we have designed that JV schedule to be a very demanding schedule. We play the Powerhouse Crescent. Every year we play them 2 games. We schedule games with larger schools like BHP. We play in Palmetto tournament, Palmetto BHP tournament. We play in Crescent tournament.
You won that tournament.
We won both of those tournaments this year, yeah. So we've designed our JV schedule and designed our JV program to fill the need for exactly what it's intended to do, to provide the varsity team with experience and good players. Having said that, like you say, a lot of these girls, I mean, when I look at that last lineup that I had on the field at White Knoll against East Clarendon, every one of those girls, I mean, other than Ashley in the pitching circle, but when I finished that game, Delaney had come in and was finishing that game as pitcher. Every one of those 9 are coming back. Wow. So that's a good feeling as a coach. But now, those young ladies need to understand that there are more coming, and there are some girls that are you know. I mean, I look at that lineup and I see 1 through 9. I feel like offensively, that's one of the best softball teams I've seen at Dixie High School. I mean, they're scoring 12 runs a game. But I also look, and I'm probably, I got 3 or 4 young ladies on the bench that I don't mind at any time grabbing and putting in the lineup to hit, or to go out and play defense. So they need to understand that they're going to have to work hard to either keep their position or to compete for and take one of those positions. There's a fine line there as far as your team concept and, being a part, and accepting the role of an off-the-bench player and a starter. And that's tough for young ladies and young people in general to accept that and to understand that no matter what they're doing, whether they're in the starting 9 or whether they're working hard in practice and making other people better, they have to understand that everybody is a part. That's not easy to do.
No, it's not now. And you said that with the last group that you had on the field, all 9 of those players are back. How many seniors do you lose off the team?
I lose 3 seniors. I lose Ashley Brown, Heather Timmerman, and Cassidy Miller. Out of those 3, all saw significant playing time all through the year. When we got into the playoffs, we sort of we talked about those pieces of the puzzle. We kind of put the final puzzle together and came up with only one of those girls, one of those seniors was starting, and that was Ashley in the pitching circle.
She had a pretty good year.
She did. She had if there was an award out there, she got it. She was, let's just go down the list. She was Region Player of the Year. She was the Class 1A Player of the Year. She was All-State and was also nominated and selected as an All-Star player this year. So there's no other award that she could have won this year. She had a good year. Again, dealt with some recovery issues from a previous surgery, and actually was going to have another procedure after the season. So she was dealing with some injuries, and but knew she had these young ladies behind her that was going to support her. One, defensively, when you got girls 1 through 9 that can hit it out of the park, and that legitimately so. It makes you feel pretty good in the pitching circle, I would imagine.
Makes you comfortable that you can really let it loose
yeah.
And let your folks play defense behind you.
That's right. You don't, and in the past I've seen, pitchers who have not necessarily on Dixie teams, but to some extent, that feel like they have to, get every out because they don't feel as confident about the team behind them. And that's not the case with us now, and so that's a good thing.
And how about for next year's South Carolina High School League? Any changes in softball coming, or where is softball right now on the radar screen for the high school league?
Yeah, well, we're going next week. Actually, Monday is our rules meeting. I looked this past couple of days on the high school league website in the rules section for softball to see if they already had their changes up, and I hadn't seen any. But my understanding there's going to be some changes. just go through what the high school league allows us to do. They allow you open season, what they call open facility, June 1 until July 31st. So you can play during that time. You can practice 100% of your team during that time. You have a closed facility from August 1 to October 31st. And then November.
What does that mean?
Closed facility means you can't work your team. I can, as a coach, take 2 players at any time and work with them on a daily basis on my field, using our equipment and using everything like that. Only 2. That's what that means. Now, if I wanted to do a travel team or something like that, or a league, I could, as a Dixie High School coach my girls, but only 75% of those girls on that team could be my players.
Right.
That's what a closed facility means. We're open again from November 1. They give us 20 days, November 1 to usually November 21st, something like that. Again, open facility. You can full-on practice. You can't make anything mandatory, but you can full-on practice with your girls anytime you want. And again, you're closed from November 21 until opening season, which is end of January, 1st of February. Also, during that closed facility time, you can always work on your strength and conditioning. And most of my girls, if they're not in season with volleyball or basketball, they are doing that. And most of the time, they're doing it with volleyball and basketball as well. They all take advantage of the weight program here.
Do you think there are going to be any rule changes for next year?
I don't know. The only thing that has ever come into question was that during closed season, with the two players per coach, it has been in the past 7 players to one coach. That may change, but I'm not expecting anything significant. I do know that the season as far as the schedule, they've pushed the season back a week. So we'll be starting a week later than we have in the past, but yet the playoffs still start at the same time. So you're going to have to cram a little more, probably have more games per week than what we normally have had. But that's not a big deal for us because we're not in a region that has a full region schedule. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I have to go outside a region to get a full schedule.
Now, and because of the quality of your team,
yeah.
is that a problem now? Will anybody is anybody deciding we don't want to play Dixie because we got too much to lose? These guys are really good.
To some extent, you see that, but for the most part, a lot of times, your other established programs, like say for example Crescent, they may view as we're not necessarily going to get any better playing out of region against Dixie. Maybe they will now with the teams that we have, but teams tend to play up. Crescent plays out of region against people like Hillcrest
mm-hmm.
and Palmetto and Malden and people like that. So as a 1A school, sometimes it is difficult to get a larger school to play. Having said that, I have a pretty good, I have a good relationship with Tim Collins at Abbeville. He plays me every year. We play 2 games. He has a good program there, and has won championships in the past. So we look forward to that. That's a good heated in-county rivalry there. So we enjoy playing them. 96, Coach Duckett down there has a good program at 96, a 2A school. So we're still able to play them as well, and I've recently talked with them actually last week, already getting schedules together. So you do have, as a 1A school, you do sometimes have difficulty finding competition outside a region, but I have a pretty good relationship with enough coaches that I can get some games out of region with some larger schools.
Congratulations on a great year.
I appreciate it.
With anticipation for another fun year.
Yep.
And I hope that I like one of the things I really like about Dixie High School athletics is the balance. I know how important academics is
right.
here because my sons went here.
Yep.
And I also know the balance between playing several sports. You really do have to share the athletes, and like we said, that's not easy to do. So I appreciate what you're doing, and really look forward to watching your team through the years.
Well, I appreciate it. Everything we do here at Dixie High School, both academically and athletic. And when it comes to athletics, I mean, we put the young people first, and I think as long as we do that, you know, we're going to be successful in the classroom and on the field, hopefully.
All right. For Gary Stone, I'm Ralph Patterson. We'll see you next time.